Automotive News and Ford themselves claim that they have a $1 billion cost disadvantage versus their rivals General Motors and Stellantis. Why is this? Well, here is what Ford is facing. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. My name's Sam Evans. It's great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. So, what is Ford talking about? What is their problem now that the Ford Mustang Mach-E isn't selling? When I say it isn't selling, well, it really isn't. I'll put a link in the description to my video about that. Now, Ford is obviously facing some EV sales problems at the moment, and it's just not going as easily as they thought it would. But Ford's also facing other challenges at the same time, particularly from the UAW. The union opposes their deal with South Korean battery company SK Innovation. The union strongly opposes their deal with Chinese battery company CATL, which is the plan there is to build a factory in the United States. So basically Ford is partnering with China and South Korea, and the unions are pissed. They're angry about this. But Ford's issues actually go beyond that. Ford says that it employs roughly 57,000 unionized United States workers, 11,000 more than General Motors and 16,500 more than Stellantis, even after firing thousands of staff over the past 12 months. And Ford Motor Company officials are quick to brag that they employ more union workers and build more vehicles in the US than any other automaker, even though Tesla vehicles are made using a far higher percentage of American-made parts than Ford vehicles are. Not many people know that. But manufacturing 80% of its vehicles in the US puts Ford at a claimed $1 billion annual cost disadvantage versus General Motors and Stellantis. That's what Ford themselves said. This is not media speculation. Ford employs 57,000 in the US, 11,000 more workers than General Motors in the US, 16,500 more than Stellantis. It has created or retained 14,000 union or UAW jobs, 5,600 more than it had committed to since signing its current contract with the union in 2019. So Ford has invested $1.4 billion more than what's outlined in the current 4-year pact and converted roughly 14,100 temporary workers to permanent status since 2019. Could be part of the reason why Ford made a loss last year. The contract calls for temporary workers to represent no more than 8% of Ford's hourly workforce. They are currently only 3%. Ford is believed to have a significantly lower percentage of temporary workers than General Motors and Stellantis. Now, Ford has entered negotiations with the unions, with UAW, and they formally began on Friday. Those negotiations are looking to build on those job and investment commitments. And like I said, the unions they're fighting Ford hard. They believe Ford are using their deals with CATL and with SK Innovation in order to try and avoid getting the union involved so they can cut costs. Ford is seeking ways to manage costs and maintain flexibility, say Automotive News, in its manufacturing footprint as it transitions to EVs. Compared to foreign automakers that have non-union workers, Ford has a roughly $9 an hour labor cost gap. All in, the company said it spends an average of $112,000 on wages and benefits per worker. That is a fair amount of money, $112,000 US dollars per worker. And well, Ford are correct. That's more than what other companies are paying on average per worker. And you can see how this could be a challenge for Ford in the future. The UAW will push for significant raises on top of that amount, though, and additional benefits for its members. UAW President Shawn Fain has argued that Ford, General Motors and Stellantis can afford the union's demands after making record profits in recent years. Fain has said he will push to reinstate cost of living adjustments that were dropped during the 2008-2009 recession and to end a tiered wage system that takes workers years to reach top pay of around $32 US an hour. Roughly 80% of Ford's hourly union workers will be making top wages by the time the current contract expires in September. So 80% of Ford workers are already on that higher salary of $32 US per hour. And so that $112,000 that Ford is paying for those salaries will increase to maybe about $120,000 by the time the contract finishes. This means Ford does have some fairly high costs for its labour. And personally, I don't agree with the union's claims that Ford have been making record profits, because they really only made a profit last year in total. If you include the fact that they invested in Rivian, got lucky, they sold their stock, most of it, they made a profit from that, the sales of those stock. But in terms of actual profits per car sold, they didn't really make any money. I mean, you've got to factor in the fact that Ford paid out enormous amounts of money on warranty claims, more than any other company in the world per car it sold. And you've got to add in the fact that Ford said they're losing $20,000 on every single EV they sell on average. Those are some pretty big challenges Ford will have to overcome over the next 5 years. I personally wouldn't want to be in Jim Farley's position as the CEO of Ford. It's a challenging time. Massive disruption, huge challenges for Ford. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.